The command rings out. Panic erupts as the men scramble into position. Day after day, the drills were relentless. Commands to spread out and reform, again and again. They fall into formation, but their commander just smirks. To him, this is just a game. The third young master watched, unimpressed but seeing potential. To him, they were just pieces on a board. But one man has reached his limit. He confronts the young master, furious that he treats war like a joke. But his games broke one man's patience. He accused his master of treating war like a joke. The subordinate's accusations grow louder. The whispers of doubt turned into a roar of defiance. He is nothing but a lazy noble, unfit to lead. He stepped forward, fueled by righteous anger. The third young master is blamed for the war itself, but he remains unfazed, calling the act what it is: mutiny. The challenge was made, a direct threat of mutiny. A dark smile spreads across his face. He will enforce his authority, personally. And in an instant, his fury turned to terror. A brutal slap is all the answer he needs. But the young master was not finished. Another brutal strike. The second slap sent the man reeling. Enraged, the soldier lunged forward. His wild attack was useless, and was met with a third decisive blow. The other men could only watch in terror. The rebellion was swiftly crushed. With the matter settled, the young master ordered them to move. This time they obeyed. A sudden chill in the air. The first snow begins to fall, but with it comes danger. A flicker in the storm. The glint of cold steel. It strikes without warning. Blood stains the fresh snow. An innocent life gone. An ambush, a brutal massacre. His men are overwhelmed, his people captured. They plead for the lives of their children, but the bandits only laugh. The bandit leader makes a chilling confession. He offers no mercy. A desperate woman begs for the lives of the children. But he responds with a cruel question, his bloody blade raised high. She realizes the horrifying truth. They were all marked for death from the start. With a final, cold word, he swings his sword. The sounds of the slaughter echo through the desolate snow. In the blood-soaked woods, only the bandits remain standing. They casually discuss the fate of the bodies, a feast for them, or the beasts. The leader reveals their true purpose, a bounty to hunt the people of Taiwan. But the people they just slaughtered were not the main prize. The real hunt has yet to begin. The hunter confirms his prey, one warrior and 2 children. Standing over the dead, he sends his subordinate to finish the job. But the warrior they hunt is no ordinary man. He senses the danger just as it arrives. Assassins. Without hesitation, he explodes into action. A sickening crunch echoes through the small hut. The first kill is swift and brutal. Only moments before, the night had been quiet. But they had already been found. The intruders weren't assassins. They were his own men, begging for more training. Their hunger for a fight was almost monstrous. And he was happy to be their monster. He ordered them outside to meet the real threat. They rushed into the snow, eager for battle. His brutal lessons had turned them into warriors. But a shout from the blizzard stopped them cold. A child? Impossible. But there it was, a lone figure in the storm, waiting. In the heart of the blizzard, a small child stood alone. An instinctual dread washed over them. This was not normal. The air grew heavy with a terrible premonition. Something big was coming. And just like that, a new quest had begun. The child in the snow triggers a memory, a distant, happy day. He remembers a simple flower, a gift for his mother. He remembers her smile and the warmth of her hand. But then, the memory turns dark. Her words become a command. The boy was confused and afraid. His parents, his entire clan, were leaving him behind with one last burden, a promise to survive. They left them behind, with one final command. He bolts awake, the nightmare still clinging to him. He had fallen asleep, letting his guard down in the freezing cold. The memory was of the massacre of the day he was forced to run. He was just a boy, trying to protect his little sister from the cold. He promised her they were almost home, a lie to keep her going. His mother's face, her last words, survive. Suddenly, a rustle in the snow snaps him back to reality. He leaps forward, weapon drawn, demanding the intruder reveal themselves. From the trees, a hand emerges. The presence in the dark reveals itself, not an enemy, but an old friend. But he brings a dire warning: they are being hunted. There is no time to waste. They flee into the snowy wilderness. Their destination, a place so dangerous no one would dare follow. Their footprints are the only sign of their passage. But their trail does not go unnoticed. The pursuers emerge from the shadows. The hunt begins. Unaware, the fugitives race against the biting wind. Suddenly, their protector freezes. The silence is broken. Their pursuers have arrived, 10 of them. Regret gives way to grim resolve. The boy draws his blade, ready to fight. But this is not his battle. Uncle Gong takes the dagger and makes his stand. He forces the children to flee. Run! There is no other choice. He must leave his uncle behind to die. The blizzard raged on, covering all tracks. But beneath the surface, life fought back. He dragged himself out, carrying the future on his back. And through the haze he saw his destination. Them. The assassins prepared to move out, their leader impatient. But the storm was a cage testing their patience, until a lone figure was spotted in the distance. The prey had stopped running. He was now the hunter. Jin Tae Kyung is overcome by a familiar dread, an ominous premonition. And then he hears it. The sound that precedes disaster. Out of the storm, their pursuers finally appear. His worst fears are confirmed. The system issues a new quest: fight the Mount Hang warriors and rescue the survivors. The enemy leader orders the attack. In response, the small group forms a desperate defensive line. The assassins laugh, seeing only easy prey, 10 against 5. The odds are utterly hopeless. Tae Kyung's allies are nothing but dead weight. His senses reveal 10 bloodthirsty enemies. He prepares to abandon his men. His companions panic, looking for a leader. The assassins charge, screaming for blood. Fear grips the small group. But Tae Kyung takes command, ordering them into a defensive line. Their only job is to block. He alone will face the charge. His system reveals a critical truth about the enemy. His fear vanishes. He can barely contain his laughter. These assassins aren't a threat. They are a reward, and he will claim it all for himself. He commanded his companions to stay back. These assassins were his alone. A crazed hunger gleamed in his eyes. This wasn't a battle, it was a harvest. The hunt for power begins now. The fight begins instantly. One man is already down. His companions can only watch in disbelief. Another falls before he can even scream. The boy's eyes widen. Was this the man they followed? Tae Kyung becomes a whirlwind of death, a savage grin plastered on his face. With every kill, the system rewards his greed. He's getting stronger. They are not assassins. They are simply prey. He moves like a phantom, circling the last survivor. With a final, devastating blow, he ends it. The final assassin is sent flying by a devastating blow. His companions are frozen in shock. The survivor crashes to the ground, utterly broken. He sputters a final empty threat. But Tae Kyung offers only a cold, swift end. He absorbs his very life force and is reborn in a flood of power, ecstatic from the slaughter. A new chapter of his brutal journey had begun. But elsewhere something stirs in the darkness. An eye opens. Muffled cries break the silence. As the man's eyes flutter open, he sees the terrified faces of the children he protects. They cling to him, thankful he is still alive. In the quiet aftermath of the slaughter, Gong Yacheng offers his profound gratitude. Tae Kyung feigns humility, then demands answers. The old warrior prepares to speak of the tragedy. His story begins 5 days ago, with news of a siege. Their home was destroyed and their people massacred by the Mount Heng sword sect. Their escape was paid for in blood, a desperate flight from a home engulfed in flames. But their freedom was short-lived. The enemy was hunting them. Huddled in the darkness, they could only wait for the inevitable. Tae Kyung demands to know the odds. How many were coming for them? The number was staggering, 30 pursuers. While the others urge escape, Tae Kyung makes a decision. They would not run. He sees not a threat but an opportunity, a chance to grow stronger. His declaration ignites a fire in the young survivor's heart. He believes. A promise is made. He will take vengeance and kill them all. But there is one detail he does not yet know. Their leader is a martial master of the Peak Realm. The pursuer is a Peak Realm master. A monster who has never been defeated, and who has never left anyone alive. At this revelation, Tae Kyung's confidence instantly evaporates. He quickly changes his tune, making excuses to back out of the fight. But his act is completely unconvincing. He feigns a grave internal injury, hoping they'll believe his pathetic lie. His hunt for glory is over. In a frantic panic, he orders everyone to run. He brushes aside their gratitude, his mind screaming one single command. Escape. A survivor asks for the name of their savior. But Tae Kyung hesitates, sensing the danger. Suddenly, a cry of pure hatred shatters the silence. His real name is screamed from the crowd. A man, consumed by a thirst for revenge, explodes with rage. He vows to kill him. With a roar, he charges forward. One swift, brutal impact. The winter wind blows, and another body falls to the snow. His attacker lies dead at his feet. The mercenaries stare, their suspicions now confirmed. He is a killer. But this complication doesn't bring fear. Instead, a twisted smile reveals his true nature. This new life is interesting. Through the frozen mountains, a band of riders thunders onward. They ride with desperate urgency. They race against a shadow, a monster known as One Word, One Kill, Jopil. Their leader knows he cannot let that beast reach the third young master. With everything on the line, failure is not an option. Meanwhile, in the blood-stained snow, a lone figure remains. A spear user, killed in one strike. He analyzes the wounds with a grim fascination. Who could possess such power? No matter who they are, this hunt will be a thrill. Amidst the carnage, a scout arrives. He brings news. The target has been spotted. But Jopil seems distracted, mocking the orders of the so-called great family head. Jopil scoffs at the very idea of taking orders. His subordinate makes a fatal error. He tries to command the killer. But to Jopil, some words are an invitation to violence. In a blur of motion, he attacks. He tosses the man aside like trash, a grin spreading across his face. As the others draw their swords in fury, his killing intent erupts. A flurry of blows crushes their defiance. And with a single, brutal shockwave, it is over. His own men, defeated in an instant. For him, this is the purest joy, to kill and to forget. Hunted and on the run, the third young master vows to push forward. They battle the harsh wilderness and the biting cold of the river. But ahead, a potential sanctuary appears. A cave, a place to survive the night. As darkness falls, the exhausted fugitives finally find an uneasy rest. By the warmth of a fire, they huddle together against the cold. But the watch never truly ends. The shelter is good, concealing them from the snow and from the eyes of their pursuer. In the flickering firelight, the third young master hides his worry. His companion, meanwhile, curses the lies he was told. He finally speaks, confronting the master with the rumors he once heard. But he knows now, the man before him is nothing like the stories. His words hang in the air, heavy with unspoken meaning. The master realizes his identity, and his connection to the war is known. But the fragile truce is broken by a sudden, violent cough. He fights for breath, trying to force out a final request. Then, the horrifying truth spills from his lips: blood. He stumbles, his body giving out as his follower looks on in panic. The truth is revealed. It wasn't just a wound. It was poison. And now, it was too late. Panic sets in. The young master searches desperately for a cure. But he has nothing. He is utterly helpless. As his companion fades, a heavy silence falls over the cave. With his final moments, the man makes one last request: to protect the children. A burden passed from the dying to the living. His final wish becomes a sacred quest, a mission with no reward, only responsibility. A dying wish becomes a sacred quest. The objective is set in stone. He must get them home, 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 home. His duty is now a quest etched into the system. With no reward, he must escort the children through the biting cold. He forges ahead, trying to convince himself he made the right choice. The man who died was just an NPC, a mere stepping stone in this game. A player's job is to clear the quest, not be a hero. Survival is the only goal. But even his own companions can feel the bitterness of his decision. He grits his teeth. For the family waiting in the real world, he cannot fail. He cannot die here. His cold pragmatism is met with outrage. You're just going to leave him? He lashes out, insisting that the weak are a burden, a threat to them all. But unwilling to accept such cruelty, the young man makes a stand. If no one else will, then he will carry their fallen senior. His patience wears thin. He lays out the grim reality for them. Sentimentality will slow them down, and facing a peak-level master while exhausted means certain death. He demands they face the truth. Do they seriously believe they can survive? He confronts the dissenter directly, challenging him to speak. Faced with undeniable logic, the man clenches his jaw and submits. Sometime later, one of the children wonders if he has abandoned them. But he is still there, carrying her on his back. An innocent voice cuts through the tension, asking if he is stronger than her father. The child's innocent words awaken a painful memory. He understands her loss all too well. As they press on through the harsh cold, his eyes fall on the struggling boy. A stubborn child, refusing to show any weakness. A pride that transcends even this life. But the relentless snow has its own plans. His body finally gives out. The boy falls, his strength spent. A dark look crosses the young master's face. He quickly hands the girl to his subordinate. And without a word, he vanishes, leaving them utterly bewildered. His men halt, confused. Where did he go? A sudden realization hits them. He wasn't running away, he was running back. Tearing through the snow with a desperate urgency. The face of a man haunted by his memories. He arrives back at the spot where the young boy collapsed. His subordinate can only stare in disbelief. The child is safe, for now, in the group leader's arms. But the young master hears only the echoes of the past. A promise he must keep under the cold, watchful moon. In the dead of night, the conspirators meet. Their plan is unfolding perfectly. A loose cannon named Joe Pill is on a rampage. And he's hunting their target, the third young master. His death is the key, designed to trigger a bloodbath. But another faction has taken notice. A minor problem, easily disposed of. The subordinate offers a final, insolent warning. His master's response is a wave of pure killing intent. The terrified man retracts his words, knowing he just stepped back from the grave. With a final threat, the shadowy figure vanishes. Left alone, the old man's composure begins to crack. His frustration erupts in the empty room. He has endured for so long, waiting for this very moment. And soon, everything will be in his grasp. In a frozen clearing, the weary group takes a desperate rest. An elder's life hangs by a thread. The third young master begs him to hold on just a little longer. Time is running out. They must leave. A subordinate shouts for everyone to prepare to move. But the young master is met with a bizarre sight. His men, once filled with urgency, are now playing with a child. Their strange behavior is confusing and infuriating. He turns away, dismissing them, when a sound cuts through the silence. Danger has arrived. But the moment of levity is shattered. A sound from the darkness. A low, menacing growl. He freezes. They've been found. Unblinking eyes pierce the night. He steels himself for the inevitable confrontation. But the creature that emerges is no mere assassin. An entire pack of monstrous wolves descends upon them. A wave of relief washes over him. It wasn't the assassins, just beasts. His confidence returns, believing the true threat is still distant. He rallies his men for a hunt, unaware of the true danger this pack represents. Confident, he stepped forward, eager for the fight. The wolves charged, a blue wave of death. He braced for impact, ready to meet their fury head-on. The monstrous horde thundered towards him. But just as they were about to strike, they turned. They fled, scattering into the woods. His men stood in stunned silence, but he knew something was terribly wrong. They saw Master's power, an aura that could break an enemy's will. As they celebrated his supposed skill, a strange light appeared before him. It wasn't a reward, it was a quest, and he had no idea why. A quest appeared before him. The objective, survive. The penalty, death. His mind went blank. There was no choice. The system forced him to accept. As he struggled to understand, he felt a presence. A lone figure stood in the snow, watching him. An immense pressure suddenly washed over him. Before he could even blink, the man was there. It was him, the legendary assassin, Jopil. The stage was set. Helpless, his men watched as the fated encounter began. One of the young master's men stood his ground. He held his spear, ready to face the impossible. From the shadows, the legendary killer, Jopil, appeared. His mere presence was an overwhelming wave of terror. A horrifying realization struck him. The wild beasts weren't avoiding them. They were fleeing this man. Jopil took a single, deliberate step forward. He ignored the desperate warnings to stay back. The guard accused him of stalling for backup. But the killer was insulted. He worked for no one. And he always worked alone. Their reinforcements are an hour away. By then, Jopil declares, it will all be over. Ignoring the retainer, the killer's gaze falls upon the third young master. He makes a strange offer. A chance to live in exchange for information. A promise the assassin bets his very life on. The deal is struck. Later, the young master laughs, recounting the absurd tale. The legendary killer had been intrigued by the young man's impossible progress. And so, the young master had simply told him the truth. The legendary assassin smirks. Amused by the boy's honesty, his bloodlust gives way to a strange curiosity. He admits he wanted to kill him, but now he only wants to watch. The young master is dismissed with a cryptic warning. Something terrible is waiting for him back home. Saved by a killer's whim, the young master wastes no time. His escape route was the one man he feared most. He orders his men to run before their luck runs out. They scramble away from the quiet observer. But the assassin's voice rings out, stopping him cold. A chilling grin spreads across the killer's face. The deal had a fatal catch. Permission to leave was granted to the young master, and him alone. His companions were sentenced to die. The killer's voice cuts through the air. The deal was for the young master, only. His companions are to be the price for his life. Horror dawns on the young master's face. Memories of those he cherishes flash before his eyes. The other killer's thirst for blood is palpable. He dares him to refuse. Silence. Then a surge of defiance. He will not abandon them. The killer scoffs, eager to test the young master's resolve. He explodes forward, a blur across the snow. His blade is drawn in a flash of lethal light. But the young master meets the strike head-on. The impact is devastating, sending a shockwave through the air. His men are thrown back by the sheer force. They can only watch in horror, calling out to their leader. He is stunned. He blocked the attack, but at what cost? The assassin sneers, disappointed. For the first time, the young master feels the cold grip of fear. He knows he might actually die here. His trembling hands give him away. The killer sees his terror and offers a twisted lesson, promising to teach him how rage can conquer fear. But the lesson isn't for him. In a flash, the assassin bypasses the young master, raining down death upon his men. They fall, one by one, their final pleas echoing in his ears. One by one, his men are cut down. And he can only watch, helpless. The killer taunts him. He chose the weakest one to make a point. What was his name? The question hangs in the air. The young master searches for an answer, but finds nothing. They were just faces. Pawns. So why does this meaningless death fill him with such blinding rage? Fear is burned away, fury takes its place, and the assassin smiles. The lesson is complete. The assassin's spear flies through the air, impaling his own men. A ruthless, calculated move. The young master strikes back, but his spear is swatted away. The sheer force sends him sliding back. The assassin recognizes the boy's immense talent. With a roar, the young master surges forward again. He unleashes a devastating technique, unique to his clan. The killer barely evades the lethal blow. And for the first time, he is pushed onto the defensive. Surprise attack is parried. For a moment, they are locked in a stalemate. But the assassin's raw power is too much. The young master is thrown back. Enraged by the boy's defiance, the killer, Jopil, gets serious. He unleashes his true power. His strength and agility explode, activating a terrifying frenzy. His blade glows with murderous intent. He launches a devastating flurry of strikes. The young master is completely overwhelmed. Beaten and breathless, the young master can only watch. The frenzied assassin is overwhelming, leaving no opening. But a new sight brings only terror. His men are charging in and he screams for them to flee. The monster ignores him, lunging for the easier prey. His warnings are useless. Blinded by loyalty, they don't understand the true danger they face. Their interference will shatter the one-on-one duel and the special power that was keeping him alive. He makes a desperate final move, but the assassin is impossibly fast. A brutal, bone-shattering impact. The assassin's blade presses down, his defense about to shatter. But the arrival of his men only brings a twisted smile to the assassin's face. In one swift, brutal motion, he cuts them down. As the title's power vanishes, all the young master can do is watch in horror, 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 watch in horror. Music starts. Unleashing his rage, the assassin attacks. His movements are a blur, cutting through the young master's men. He shatters steel with his bare hands. Their weapons are useless against him. He moves through their attacks untouched. A desperate strike is parried without a thought. But in the chaos, the young master sees an opening. He gathers all his strength for one final attack. The pierce of the heaven, a direct shot aimed to kill. It hits, but the blow isn't fatal. The recoil sends the young master flying. His men are down. The assassin is wounded, but still standing. The young master stumbles, wounded by the counterattack. His final gambit had failed. Enraged, the assassin lunges forward. A vicious kick sends him flying. The monster closes in for the kill. A blur of blades descends, tearing through flesh and bone. He is cut down, bleeding, broken. But he will not let go of his spear. This is the end. Joe Pill offers a final, cruel praise. He summons a power meant to obliterate. A searing palm strike, and it's over. Silence falls on the snow-covered forest. A trail of blood marks where the young master fell. But in another world, the pain is real. Blood stains the snow, his body is on fire, strength completely gone. But against all odds, he rises. The assassin watches, impressed by his sheer will to fight. With his last ounce of strength, he makes one final desperate charge. But it's useless. The assassin stops him cold, shattering his weapon and his hope. Joe Pill holds him at bay, a game of cat and mouse. With a casual flick, he is discarded. But the young master isn't finished. He gambles on a final surge of chi. His body strains, then breaks. A violent backlash of corrupted energy. Joe Pill watches, momentarily confused by the sudden collapse. Then, a wave of cruel, mocking laughter. He explains the boy's fatal mistake. The divine palm of fire had sealed his chi. To even try to use it was to invite death. But suddenly, the laughter stops. Joe Pill looms over his dying victim, ready to deliver the final blow. The third young master's life flashes before him. Was it all for nothing? To die in a simple game? The thought sparks a desperate realization. But Joe Pill has no time for last words. He strikes, unleashing a torrent of deadly energy. The third young master's body goes limp. It is over. Suddenly, angry shouts cut through the silence. His comrades have arrived. A cruel smile spreads across Joe Pill's face. He has new targets, but then a faint muttering from the snow. Confused, he looks down at the body. The corpse is speaking. All this time he had been fighting like a fool, but now he understood the rules of the game. A simple command and a dagger materialized in his hand. Joe Pill could only stare, confused. A dagger plunged deep into his ankle. The boy he'd left for dead was now on the attack. All the pain of his past life fueled his fury. Blade after blade appeared from thin air, a vicious, unending storm. But Joe Pill would not go down so easily. He seized the boy's wrist, and with a sickening crack, broke it. A devastating blow sent the young master flying. In the cold silence, the true predator rose to his feet. Wounded, but not defeated, Joe Pill rises. Against the tree, the young master's body gives out. But the fire in his eyes has not been extinguished. His body betrays him, trembling and broken. Joe Pill closes in, his power gathering for the kill. But the arrival of his men provides a fatal distraction. With a guttural roar, the young master explodes into action. He seizes the moment, grabbing his tormentor, and drives him headfirst into the unforgiving wood. A sickening crack, and then silence. The impact shatters the silence. Joe Pill chokes, blood erupting from his lungs. But the real damage was done from the inside. Staggering back, Joe Pill can't comprehend what just happened. His men freeze, witnessing the impossible. He was supposed to be unarmed. How could this be? Through the pain, the third young master reveals his true, twisted gambit. He struck a critical point, forcing his enemy's own energy to turn against him. A complete chi deviation. The battle is over. His own power tears him apart from the inside. His mind shatters in disbelief. Blinded by rage, he makes a final, desperate move. But his body can no longer contain the corrupted chi. Both men collapse, the snow stained red. Jopil lies broken, his pride the only thing left. The young master, exhausted, believes it's finally over. But he's out of strength, and Jopil's allies are closing in. Deep within the broken warrior, a final spark of defiance ignites. Fueled by nothing but his own name, Jopil forces himself to stand. With a final mad roar, Jopil strikes with the last of his strength. The young master is thrown back, shocked. This shouldn't be possible. He watches in horror as his enemy begins to transform. Jopil is burning his own life force, a desperate gamble to secure his kill. Out of chi, with a broken arm, the master has no way to defend himself. But he makes a choice. A dangerous, unthinkable choice. The volatile energy of the chi deviation. It is his only hope. He will not run. He will consume it. He draws the chaotic power into his own core and makes it his own. He pulls the chaotic energy into his core, his body screaming in agony. But with the pain comes unimaginable strength. His companion can only watch in terror. With his life force burning away, Jopil lunges for one final murderous strike. Their energies collide. The vision shatters, he's back in the testing hall. The training altar is obliterated. The staff demand to know who did this. Jin Tae Kyung, a mere F rank, calmly takes the credit. The examiner is in disbelief. The power displayed wasn't just impressive, it was impossible. The strength of a D-rank hunter. Exhausted, Jin Tae Kyung protests his given rank. But the instructor reveals a harsh truth. His skills are immense, but his body is still just an F rank. One attack has left him completely drained. There is a way forward, but it comes with a stark warning. This devastating power is a final trump card, to be used only when his life is on the line. When asked the skill's name, he gives a simple one-word answer: might. A memory flashes back, a warrior, bloody and desperate, unleashing one final, all-consuming attack. With a final roar, he poured every last drop of his being into one devastating strike. A clash of wills that shattered everything. This was the true origin of his power, born from sacrifice and despair. With all his might, he unleashed one final strike. The enemy met his desperation with raw power. Their ultimate techniques collided. The blast tore through the battlefield, forcing his allies to brace for the fallout. When the storm passed, only a spray of blood remained. The spear hissed, unable to contain the overwhelming power. With a final surge, the weapon shattered in his grip. He gasped for air, his body screaming from the strain. His enemy could only stare, disbelief etched on his face. Two warriors stood on the edge of death. But the cost of victory was too great. His body finally gave out. The system announced his triumph. He had won. His opponent lay broken on the frozen earth. But it wasn't over. He dragged himself forward for the final blow. The defeated man could only watch as his killer approached. He stood over his defeated foe, ready to end it. But something held him back. In his enemy's reflection, he saw a crying child. His resolve began to crack. A memory of a desperate plea. The truth of that day came rushing back. He wasn't just a hero. He was also a monster. And with that final crushing thought, he collapsed. A fatal error flashed across his vision. The system was breaking. Then, the final notification: you have died. He knew this battle would decide everything. His comrades insisted on fighting by his side. Against his better judgment, he agreed. It was a fatal mistake. Terror struck without warning. A shadow descended, and the world turned to blood. They were cut down in an instant, a brutal, merciless slaughter. Wounded and helpless, all he could do was watch his family die. The nightmare ends. He wakes with the ghosts of his past still screaming in his mind. But he is not alone. He awoke in an unfamiliar place. He had been unconscious for 5 days. His condition was so critical, the physicians had given him up for dead. News of his impending death had sent his lord into a furious rage. But his recovery was just the beginning. So much had happened in his absence. The man brought news, both good and even better. Bandaged and broken, he braced himself for the truth. The survivors he fought to protect were all safe. His comrades, though injured, had also survived. Survivors. The word hung heavy in the air, a testament to his sacrifice. But victory came at a cost. He asked about the one who fell. They had given him a proper burial, an orphan, with no family to mourn him. Silence hung in the air, the weight of another's life. But in that grief, a new resolve took root. He remembered the man's final moments, a warrior's end. He vowed their deaths would not be in vain, he would carry their dreams. A faint smile, his purpose was clear. He asked about the fallen warrior's dream, only to find it was a goal so grand it was almost a joke. For a moment, the tension broke. But the respite was short-lived. There was more news to come. The man's story begins, a great battle 2 days ago. Their elite warriors faced the Mount Hang sword sect and claimed an overwhelming victory. The enemy was decimated. Only a handful escaped. Though their leader got away, his 2 strongest masters, the twin demons, were slain. He had to know who could accomplish such a feat. The answer was shocking. The man himself, alongside his lord, had dealt the final blows. He remembered his own near-death fight against a similar opponent, and realized the man before him wasn't a man, he was a monster. The man's gaze shifted to Jopil. He offered a word of praise, recognizing the warrior by his title. He expressed his genuine amazement before his tone sharply turned, recalling all the trouble Jopil had caused. He listed the young master's past sins, a drunkard, a disgrace. No one expected him to become someone dependable. The man, Wei Peng, formally acknowledged his growth, a compliment he hated to give. Jopil dismissed his own victory as mere luck, but Wei Peng saw it differently. To him, there were no excuses in battle. Only the strongest survive. Victory is the only truth. A dangerous thought sparked in Jopil's mind, pride. A thought Wei Peng found utterly ridiculous. He was reminded that his victory was won not with skill, but with cunning. With the lesson over, the conversation turned to the aftermath. The Mount Hang sword sect had lost 3 masters, a crippling blow. But their true loss was far greater. They had lost their justification, their reason to fight. Their enemy's will to fight is now broken. Meanwhile, Jopil is brought before a lord, praised for his honorable victory. The lord is overcome with tears of joy. But Jopil's recovery is anything but peaceful. The lord rushes to embrace his champion, crushing the wounded warrior in a painful, suffocating hug. His desperate pleas for space echo unanswered. But in the camp of the defeated, there is no joy, only cold fury. The son of the Mount Hang sword sect leader is thrown to the ground. For his failure, he is met not with comfort, but with a father's rage and an order to disappear. His son, beaten and broken, accepts his fate. But the sect leader's rage only erupts. He declares their humiliating losses were a result of arrogance. He demands they gather more soldiers, by any means necessary. Honor is dead, reputation is worthless. Now only power matters. They have 4 days. In 4 days they will attack again. Honor is dead, reputation is worthless. Now only power matters. They have 4 days. In 4 days they will attack again. They will attack again. They will. The bandages were removed, revealing a recovery that was simply unheard of. The infirmary staff could only stare in disbelief. But he knew his body wasn't fully healed. Not yet. The physician claimed his healing surpassed even the rarest of medicines. The mention of 100-year ginseng felt strangely familiar. Remembering the warrior's amnesia, the old man hesitated. He began a story of a great theft from the storage hall 1 year ago. And then the chilling realization crashed down on him. The priceless, stolen ginseng was inside him. The physician's words hit him. The herb granted him 20 years of qi. He remembers the stolen ginseng. It was him. A wave of agony washes over him. He consumed a priceless treasure without even knowing. His frantic regret leaves the physician utterly baffled. As the physician departs, the warrior is left alone to process the colossal, accidental waste. But the regret fades, replaced by pure, unadulterated joy. A surge of power, 13 levels gained in a single moment. His new status confirmed it. He was now a second-rate warrior, a true master. He stares at his own strength. The weakling who feared common bandits was gone. With his newfound power came a brand new skill, one strike. It was a familiar power, but now he held complete control. His old body would have been obliterated after a single use. This new one could unleash it again and again. But his contemplation was interrupted. He had gained more than just levels, he had gained a reputation. Rumors of his battle had spread like wildfire, painting him as a legendary hero. Overwhelmed by the sudden adoration, he realized the stories had taken on a life of their own. Embarrassed, yet undeniably pleased, he basked in the attention. The amnesic patient was gone. In his place stood the hero of Mount Hang. The crowd cheers for their new hero. But this world is a cage, and he must find a way out. To log out, he needs 2 things: fame and a new rank. Fame is coming on its own. But the path to becoming a first-rate warrior is unclear. He has no other choice. He must seek guidance from the one person with the answers, the sect leader. The powerful man greets him with a knowing smile. The warrior comes to ask for help with his training. But the leader's mind is on something else entirely, preparing the sect for war. The sect leader reveals their strategy, a preemptive strike. The timing is a shock. The attack begins in 2 days. The news hangs heavy in the air. Panic sets in. His escape plan is in jeopardy. Will he be able to log out in time? As the sect leader details his plans, a new quest appears. An order to join the battle and protect the rear guard. He accepts the mission, gambling that he'll be gone by then. The sect leader smiles, his faith in the young warrior solidified. He heaps praise on the hero, unaware of his inner turmoil. But the warrior's true purpose for this meeting has been completely ignored. With the war looming, he had one last question for the sect leader. He confesses his weakness, a second-rate warrior. The leader scoffs. He is already a first-rate. But the hero insists, bound by a system the leader cannot comprehend. A single sharp question cuts through the argument. Who told you that? Trapped. He can't reveal the truth of his world. He can only claim the belief as his own. The answer, the leader claims, is simple. But his solution is not one of words. It is found within a single cup of tea. The sect leader's test begins. Not with a fight, but with a single glowing word. Belief. The hero is stunned. He's told to simply believe in himself. He scoffs at the idea, demanding a real answer. The leader insists. Everything begins with belief. The simple truth shatters his composure. A dangerous question forms in his mind. As his world turns upside down, he falls into a void of self-doubt. There, the horrifying answer is revealed. He never believed in himself, only in the system that called him weak. A terrifying thought surfaced. What if the system was a lie? Or worse, what if it was only a reflection of his own self-doubt? His achievements flashed before his eyes. He'd defeated the strong. He'd killed a master. All this time, he'd been his own worst enemy. The pieces clicked into place. There was only one possible conclusion. With newfound clarity, he declared his truth to the world. He was already a first-rate warrior. And in that moment of pure belief, something shattered. The system, once his cage, now rushed to catch up to his true power. The system, once his cage, now rushed to catch up to his true power. True power. He worked the crowd, desperately scraping for every last point of fame. But his reputation had peaked. The system wouldn't budge. Suddenly, a new opportunity presented itself. Warriors from the 5 gates of Shengxi appeared, eager to help the famous sleeping dragon. He graciously accepted their support and promptly passed the entire burden onto them. With a quick excuse, he made his move. His true goal was just ahead, a place where outsiders were forbidden. Meanwhile, the warriors used as a diversion awakened, battered and broken. One is haunted by the memory of their opponent, an unstoppable monster who shattered their confidence with a single strike. His companion explains the grim reality. They challenged a master of the peak realm. Frustration turns to confrontation. But he is met with a bitter confession. A truth he has always known, but never wanted to accept. The confession hangs in the air, a silent testament to their crushing defeat. Their defeat ignites a new fire. A vow is made to become stronger than Jopil himself. This simple goal brings a strange sense of joy, of purpose. The feeling is contagious. Even the most cynical warrior feels his spirit stir. What was once despair now becomes a fierce, friendly rivalry. They will push each other, challenge each other, and together they will surpass the man they once admired. But their private declarations are being overheard. Outside, a senior warrior is physically repulsed by their youthful drama. He had come to offer them parting words before the war, but decides this is a moment he absolutely should not interrupt. His mind made up, the senior warrior turns to leave. But his departure is halted by an unexpected admirer. The children joyfully greet their recovering savior, Master Jin. Drawn inside, he learns the master is well on his way to recovery. But loose talk of an upcoming war makes his blood run cold. The clan's secrets, spoken so openly. A meaningless alert. Fame is useless if they all die. He confronts Master Jin about the preparations. The master deflects, instead mentioning something he recovered. A package is presented, a belonging the warrior doesn't remember losing. He is told these were recovered after he was rendered unconscious. A quiet, heavy truth. Master Jin hands him a package with a cryptic warning. Inside, an unbelievable arsenal of legendary items. He recognizes the ploy instantly, a bribe to keep him entangled. He scoffs, refusing to be their pawn. But the allure of such power is almost impossible to resist. He imagines the glory, the immense power he could wield. The dream twists into a nightmare, a vision of uncontrollable flames and certain death. He slaps the thought away. His only priority is survival. He steels his resolve. He must stay safe until he can escape. But as night falls, a chilling question hangs in the air. Someone is watching. In the dead of night, the final pieces of a conspiracy fall into place. Master Jin has prepared everything for his grand ambition. He dreams of a new era, born from the ashes of war. An era where he will be the undisputed ruler. At dawn, the winds of change begin to blow, and the drums of war begin to sound. Jin Tae Kyung hears the call to battle. His goal, his escape, is just within reach. But his time has just run out. His rumors have spread. He is no longer anonymous. He is a target. The drums of war echo as the army gathers. Tae Kyung's path to escape has vanished, replaced by the call to battle. The war drums sound. Hundreds of soldiers stand ready. As the council watches on, their leader steps forward. He stands before them, a general addressing his army. Their faces are grim, their resolve unbreakable. A quiet tension builds within the ranks. The general begins his address with a single, stark promise: honesty. He confirms their worst fears: they are outnumbered, they are outmatched. A wave of unease washes over the soldiers. Doubt begins to fester. But then he ignites their spirits. Their enemy is not an army, but a pack of hyenas. A mob of thieves without dignity, without honor. The general offered no false hope. He spoke only of a hellish battle where survival was not guaranteed. But with a single roar, he promised them victory, a prize for any man strong enough to survive. Fear was burned away by a thunderous battle cry that shook the very ground. And so the long march began, a grueling journey into the heart of the enemy. As darkness fell, a brief, uneasy rest was all they were allowed. The first night in enemy territory is uneasy. Around the campfire, Tae Kyung finds a familiar face. Hyekmujin, a man who should be recovering, has defied orders to join the march. But his prideful words can't hide his exhaustion. The injured warrior boasts about his strength, insisting he is perfectly fine. But a simple command reveals the lie: the pain is too great. As Tae Kyung scolds him for his recklessness, an unexpected voice interrupts. The lesser family head has arrived, his sharp gaze fixed on the wounded soldier. Caught in his lie, Mujin trembles before the lesser family head. But the superior's attention shifts to Tae Kyung. A quiet invitation is made. Under the cold moonlight, Tae Kyung's condition is questioned. He assures his superior that he's not just fine, he's better. Tae Kyung is assigned to the rear guard, a safe position, but he wants more. He boldly asks for a true mission, a chance to perform a great deed and earn his place. His display of loyalty moves the lesser family head to tears. Tae Kyung receives an emotional thanks and an unwanted embrace. But just as quickly as it was given, the opportunity is revoked. Tae Kyung pleads, but the lesser family head refuses. He grabs the boy, his tone turning grave. A more important duty has already been assigned. Hope glimmers in Tae Kyung's eyes. But the head's gaze is somber. His one true mission is to survive. The words leave him utterly stunned. He is ordered to run, to abandon them if he must. He is the root of the family, the last hope. A heavy burden and a final plea to live. His mission was absolute: survive. Left alone, the weight of their future fell upon him. Without another word, he was gone. By dawn, a new journey had begun. He traveled with strangers, pushing onward. He overheard their destination, a city called Dingsing. But something felt terribly wrong. He was met with a predatory gaze. The journey had already become dangerous. He made his move, a desperate escape through the dust. He overheard their destination, a city called Dingsing. But something felt terribly wrong. He was met with a predatory gaze. The journey had already become dangerous. The man's hostile demeanor suddenly vanishes. Tae Kyung watches him, suspicion still clouding his mind. With a seemingly friendly gesture, the tension breaks, for now. The journey resumes. But the man seeks him out again, his intentions still a mystery. He speaks of a legendary warrior he hoped to see, the Blade of Flower. A name that means nothing to Tae Kyung. A figure whose fame, the man claims, is known across all lands. Then it dawns on him. They are speaking of the head elder. A living legend, a hero born from war, whose blade served only justice. Tae Kyung recalled his head elder with unease. But to Kwak Jun, he was a legend who had slain hundreds. While others felt the dread of war, Kwak Jun's heart pounded with excitement for the battle. His confidence was absolute. He was certain they would prevail. An unwavering, Almost strange certainty radiated from him. The others were baffled by his nature. But Tae Kyung simply saw a man who was perhaps too optimistic. Beat of silence. On the second night of their march, they arrived at Hengshui. Jin Wei-kyung gathered the commanders. The enemy was low on supplies and predictable. He had found the perfect choke point, the 8-spring gorge. A narrow canyon with steep walls, the perfect place for an ambush, with archers from the lower district sect already in position. At dawn, 450 warriors descended into the gorge, sealing the trap. As his forces prepared for battle, Tae Kyung stood apart, haunted by a memory, a farewell he could never give. He sat alone, overlooking the valley. Soon his men arrived, finding their leader waiting, as if he'd been there all night. His men find him keeping watch, isolated from the others. But his appearance startles them. He looks like a man possessed, his face gaunt from a night without sleep. He mutters to himself, lost in his own world, on the verge of finally going home. His men can only watch, wondering if their leader has gone mad. They notice the strange rewards laid out before him. A legendary martial scroll and a spiritual pill of immense power. But the pill carries a price. Consume it unprepared, and you burn to death. He casually offers it to them. Horrified, the soldier immediately refuses. Tae Kyung insists he no longer needs them. Convinced of his insanity, his men back away, deciding to leave the madman alone. His men leave, disgusted. They think he's finally snapped. But Tae Kyung is calm. This is his final act as their leader. He senses it in the air. The war has started. Just then, a new commander appears. Behind him, an entire company of unknown soldiers. Tae Kyung's men are confused by their presence. They protest, reminding the commander their mission is to guard Tae Kyung's rear. Tae Kyung's eyes narrow. This isn't a mistake. It's a trap. The commander smirks. Their orders are conflicting. A chilling question hangs in the air. How are they different? A silent, deadly understanding passes between two men. Tae Kyung grips his sword. He knows this is a fight to the death. A wicked grin spreads across the enemy's face. He reveals his true mission, a direct order from his master. The command is simple. Kill them all. 100 swords are drawn as one. The assassins descend, a black tide of death. There is no escape. Outnumbered, his last men prepare for the end. Betrayed by his own side, Tae Kyung can only feel a burning rage. Tae Kyung's man roars, accusing the assassins of treason. But the enemy leader remains unmoved. He is not the traitor here. A loyal soldier tries to shield him, to protect him from what's to come. His other men underestimate the threat, but Tae Kyung knows better. His senses scream danger. This is no ordinary warrior. It's not just him, they are all elite fighters, an army of executioners. The horrifying truth dawns on him. The killers were hiding in plain sight. And his obsession with escape had made him completely blind. The quest was simple. Eliminate the assassins. The price of failure? Death. They descended upon him, a tide of black cloth and sharpened steel. He met their fury with his own, but their numbers were overwhelming. They mocked his defiance, certain of their victory. Every block, every parry, was a struggle for his life. But Tae Kyung was more than just a wall to be broken. He moved like the wind, a blur of motion amidst their strikes. And in that moment of chaos, he found his opening, and struck. Their overconfidence shattered in an instant. But for everyone that fell, another took his place. The hunt was not over. A blade finds its mark. And then another. The assassins are being slaughtered. Doubt creeps into their leader's mind. This wasn't the plan. But his attention is pulled away. Another battle rages nearby. A new, unexpected variable. On another front, his men pressed their own attack. He believed this fight would be easy. A sudden blinding flash of steel, the desperate cry of a falling warrior. And just like that, the last of the support is eliminated. The horrifying truth dawns. Their intel was a lie. This boy wasn't just lucky, he was a master. He turns to flee, but a blade at his throat stops him cold. A new assassin appears with a simple, deadly demand: cooperate or die. Ignoring the warning, he makes a run for it, a foolish mistake. He's slammed into the dirt, utterly powerless. Pinned down, and at his mercy, the interrogation begins. Who are you really, and where are the gate's true protectors? The interrogation begins with a brutal punch. Tae Kyung's fury boils just beneath the surface. The remaining assassins are swiftly neutralized. Defeated, the leader desperately offers an identity. But his story is immediately recognized as a lie. The deception runs far deeper than they imagine. Cornered, the assassin begins to laugh. The truth is much worse. He reveals a secret plot, a grand plan 30 years in the making. 30 years? The revelation sends a shockwave through Tae Kyung. And the mastermind behind it all is none other than the head elder. The head elder's deeds flashed before his eyes. He framed an innocent man. But he also united the family, ending all strife. Then a dreadful thought took hold. It couldn't be. As his subordinate counted their forces, the horrifying truth was revealed. The head elder's faction was the majority. This wasn't unification. It was a trap. A plan to seize everything by destroying the main family. He ordered his men to move, to sound the alarm. But the assassin's final words sealed their fate. It was already too late. With his dying breath, the assassin named all of the head elder's targets. The great plan, he sneered, had already begun. With a mad roar, he declared their doom. And in one final defiant act, he ended his own life. The last link to the truth was gone. A vicious fanatic, taking all secrets to the grave. But the system only saw a completed task. A stream of cold, impersonal rewards began to flow. Until one message cut through all the noise. The requirements were met. He could finally go home. For a moment, he couldn't speak. With a silent apology to those waiting for him, he made his choice. He had a duty to fulfill here. But the system intervened. A forced logout. He had no choice at all. He made his choice. He had a duty to fulfill here. But the system intervened. A forced logout. He had no choice at all. The countdown begins. His allies charge forward unaware. Time is running out. They sense something is wrong. The final second ticks away. He is torn from them, his vision blurring. Their desperate voices begin to fade. In a blinding flash of light, he is gone. He finds himself in an empty void. Ripped from his world, his battle, his choice stolen. A blinding flash of light pulls him back into the real world. His mind is still trapped in the game. He desperately tries to access the system interface. But his commands go unanswered. Frantically, he tries again and again. But there is only silence. The connection is well and truly severed. He leaps from his chair, finally free. He is home, but as his feet touch the floor, something feels terribly wrong. He returns to reality, only to be met by an infuriating sound. The thunderous snores of his roommate. A sight that has tormented him for ages. All the built-up stress, the sleepless nights, finally erupt. He unleashes his fury, but his body is no longer that of a master assassin. The impact shatters his hand, not his victim's jaw. Awoken by the blow, the man's anger is ice cold. But Tae Kyung refuses to back down. After the assault, the man makes a surprising move. He tries to reason with him. The roommate dismisses the assassin's story. a month in a game, an absurd lie. He points out the facts. It's only been 3 hours. The capsule is ancient junk. His skepticism turns to ridicule, infuriating the assassin. Words have failed. There's only one way to make him understand. He forces the truth upon him. Against his will, the roommate is strapped in. He finally relents, ready to face this truth. But the assassin has a final, cryptic warning. The capsule door seals shut. The timer is set, just 10 minutes. The experience begins. He waited, counting the seconds. 10 seconds, half a day inside. His friend must be losing his mind when the capsule clicked open. But there was no fear, no madness, just his roommate, calmly putting on his glasses. The assassin was stunned. This couldn't be happening. His roommate looked at him, not with terror, but with simple annoyance. He scrambled to understand. How did he escape the game? The answer was presented without a word. A disconnected power cord. His mind went blank. The entire demonstration was a farce. Judged as insane, his friend simply went back to bed. Defeated and humiliated, he plugged in the machine. If the game wasn't real, then what was it? Alone in the silent room, his gaze drifted towards the machine. The source of his supposed madness. Was it all a dream? Had he finally gone insane? But the memories, the pain, the blood, it was all too real. It was not an illusion. If it wasn't a game and it wasn't a dream, then a sudden realization. The answer had been there all along. He tore the room apart, searching for the user's manual. He found it. He tears through the manual. Past the pages he already knew. Past the warnings he had once ignored. He was looking for something else. And then, his eyes lock onto a section he'd never seen. A capsule bound to one user until death. A system that syncs the player with the character. The horrifying truth finally crashes down on him. The horrifying truth finally crashes down on him. The manual's first warning is dire. The capsule is bound to him until death. A chilling realization. This isn't just a game. The next feature is even more unnerving. Time manipulation. A sudden dread washes over him. His mind races back to the allies he left behind. He calculates the time difference, a brief moment of relief. But the cold fear lingers. He forces the thought aside, desperately turning his attention back to the manual. And there it is, the character sync system. A complete merger. His worst fears are confirmed. The words on the page confirmed his worst fears. Complete synchronization. He collapsed, screaming in a rage of denial. Lying there, a desperate idea took hold. He tried to call a system command in the real world, but there was only silence. The horrifying implications began to sink in. The world of Murim was calling. By morning, desperation drove him into the city. He searched every store for a capsule that matched his own. But he found nothing. No one had even heard of the game. It was as if it never existed. With no other options, he turned to his friend, a VR expert. But even the enthusiast found nothing. The company, the capsule, unheard of. Desperate, he urged him to look closer. Then came the most chilling discovery. To his friend, the manual was almost completely blank. He was utterly alone in this madness. Lost and defeated, he wandered into the night. A call from his sister offered a fleeting moment of normalcy. He answered, desperate for a familiar voice. But the line just clicked. And then, nothing. Only a dead, terrifying silence. The voice on the other end. It's her, his sister. This is real. He's finally back. A familiar, teasing tone. For the first time in what felt like ages, a genuine smile. But the thought of his mother's voice is too much. He couldn't risk breaking down. Not yet. What matters is that he has returned. He has a family here, a family he needs to protect. The other world feels like a strange dream, something that will fade with time. He must focus on this life, the real world. The next morning arrives, and somewhere nearby, a new day begins for someone else. As a new day dawns, another man starts his morning. His eyes fall on a familiar figure, Jin Tae Kyung, heading out early. He watches, intrigued by the young man's diligence. Then he sees it, the discarded VR helmet. But something feels wrong. He can't shake his suspicion. He keeps his distance, observing. The name Hsoft comes to mind. He decides to dig deeper. Meanwhile, Tae Kyung seeks simple, honest work. Just another face in the crowd, trying to get by. In the tense silence of the hunter waiting room, a familiar voice calls out. It's a veteran hunter, the first one he ever met. The old man loudly reminisces, much to his junior's embarrassment. He's surprised to see him here, assuming he still had a guild contract. But the young hunter reveals the truth. He was fired. A booming laugh echoes as the veteran mocks his old guild. Suddenly, a call rings out. An E-rank hunter is needed. To his surprise, the old man rises to his feet. With a casual goodbye, he heads for the lobby. He was the one they called. Left behind, the young hunter can only stare in disbelief. E-rank Tae Kyung could only watch, stunned, as his old acquaintance walked away. Everyone else seemed to be an E-rank hunter. The announcements echoed, leaving him alone in the waiting area. Then, a different call. His name, F-rank hunter Jin Tae Kyung, was finally summoned. He stepped into the lobby, feeling out of place amongst the others. A voice cut through the noise, calling for him directly. But this wasn't a job assignment. It was a recruiter from the Peace Guild, holding a contract. Jin Tae Kyung meets his new team. A van full of seasoned hunters. Presiding over them all is the recruiter from the Peace Guild. They are E-rank veterans, a crew with years of experience. Among them, Tae Kyung is a complete rookie. The others can't help but notice the recruiter's unusual presence. The teasing begins, questioning his special recommendation. His flustered reaction is obvious. The van fills with brief, easy laughter. But the recruiter cuts it dead. He announces their target, an E-rank gate. The terms are set. His role is revealed, not a fighter, but the team's carrier. The generous pay was a clear warning. A veteran hunter shifts uncomfortably. But the team's rookie is simply grateful. The older hunter shrugs off the thanks. He insists the final call belonged to the leader. Leader Choi remains focused, his decision final. Unaware of the true danger, the rookie eagerly accepts his role. The leader cuts in. The time for talk is over. They have arrived. The gate waits, crackling with a deadly power. Gates, scars left behind by a demonic invasion. They once brought death and destruction. Now hunters raid them for valuable magic gems. But inside the rules are different. Normal weapons disintegrate. Only gear powered by magic can survive the gate's toxic energy. This makes a hunter's equipment their very lifeline. The team leader inspects the carrier's armor. It's ancient, pathetic. He learns it's 7 years old. The team stares in disbelief. Choi scoffs at the man's foolishness. Is he willing to die over a few coins? The team leader offers a final, condescending warning. But Tae Kyung carries a deeper promise, a vow to always be careful. Just as the party prepares to enter, a new hunter arrives. His armor stops everyone in their tracks, the legendary Crimson Dragon set. A heavy silence falls over the group. Tae Kyung, flustered, tries to apologize. But the newcomer is only too happy to boast about the power of his gear. Or rather, its beauty. The armor, he brags, is purely for show. With their flamboyant new member, the party is finally complete. The mismatched team prepares to enter the gate. Ahead, the man in crimson armor finishes his preparations. Tae Kyung learns of the man's peculiar obsession with his gear. A growing sense of unease begins to creep in. He asks about the rest of the guild, a question he'll soon regret. The truth is revealed: there are no other members. Just a skeleton crew against an entire dungeon. His face falls in terror. But the team leader is completely calm. He reveals their secret weapon is a C-rank hunter. Tae Kyung is left utterly stunned. This mission is not what it seems. Tae Kyung's relief is immense. With a C rank on their side, this gate is nothing to fear. He abandons the carrier disguise. The facade is no longer necessary. The old gear is left behind. They delve deeper into the suffocating darkness of the dungeon. A command is uttered, and light explodes from the center of the group. The vast, icy cavern is revealed in all its glory. But the sudden brightness disturbs something lurking in the shadows above. Goblins. Dozens of them. Their nest has been exposed. The hunter's awe turns to alarm. They are being watched. With a piercing shriek, the goblins descend upon them. But the C-rank hunter is unfazed, his command cutting through the panic. A single arrow finds its mark. But it's not enough to stop the frenzy. The hunter's arrows are deflected by crude shields. From the darkness, the main goblin force reveals itself. The party leader instantly commands his team into formation. The tanks move forward, preparing to hold the line. The screeching horde slams into their defense. But the goblin's strength is nothing against the veteran hunter. With a brutal push, the tanks begin to crush the front line. Leader Choi leaps past the front line, ready to finish the job himself. A flash of steel, and the goblins fall before they can even scream. He is a whirlwind of death, carving a path through the horde. From the rear, the porter watches with a critical eye. The leader is a good fighter, but in his eyes, nothing special. As he reflects, a sudden noise breaks his concentration. A single goblin trying to escape. While the rest of the party is distracted, one is slipping away into the darkness. A decision is made. He will try it. He stalks his target, a lone goblin survivor. One deep breath. The creature senses its impending doom. He grips his simple spear and unleashes something else entirely. A massive blade appears, ending the goblin in a single clean strike. The raw power of the attack leaves him stunned. The rest of the party is oblivious, calling for the porter. But he is lost in the moment. The magnificent weapon rests on his shoulder. The test was a complete success. He forces himself back into the role of a simple porter. Focus. The party ventures deeper into the darkness. But their approach has been spotted. The goblins swarm them in a surprise attack. The warriors battle fiercely, cutting a path through the horde. But the porter is given a different task: clean up the mess. He rushes to fulfill his simple duty. And in the blink of an eye, the objective is complete. A speed that leaves his comrades in awe. He plays the part of a simple porter, but his efficiency has drawn suspicion. The leader's praise comes with a firm, warning grip. Before the boss room, the party talks of dinner, pure arrogance. He alone sees their foolishness. A bad feeling grows. The order is given. They form up, sending the weakest to the rear. They stand ready, confident in their strength. The ancient doors begin to open, revealing a presence far beyond their worst nightmares. From the darkness, a lone figure appeared. A goblin shaman, small but radiating a foul energy. But he knew this was no ordinary monster. The party scoffed, mocking the tiny boss. Then the truth was revealed. A floor littered with the slaughtered. Something dark began to coalesce above them. Fear finally gripped their leader. The shaman turned its attention to the intruders. He screamed for them to run, but it was already too late. Their mockery turns to stone-cold terror. They can only watch, frozen, as the true nature of their enemy is revealed.